Hey everyone, Gerry Brown here on the Groove Don't Lie podcast. On today's show, we're joined by master percussionist Mr. Brian Kilgore, a musician whose work goes far beyond keeping time. Brian is known not just for his playing, but for his homemade sound effects, the kind of custom textures that composers and filmmakers sometimes call on when they want a scene to feel more alive, more specific, or just a little stranger in the best possible way. He's had attention for his work in film, including scenes from Sinners. And he's the kind of artist who believes those sounds belong to the moment they're made. In fact, he's adamant he'll never sell his effects digitally. Today, we're excited to talk with him about the art of rhythm, texture, and creating sounds that can't be downloaded. Welcome, everyone, Mr. Brian Kilgore. From all the work that you've done and the work that I've done, and I'm not an engineer, but I do know how some things work. But I find it so funny. And it's like our music ancestors, they must be having a effing ball. Look at these guys.
Yeah. Yep. I know. Like, I just want to play percussion. Like,
I just want to play percussion.
Yeah. Where's the setting for this? With the drum, you don't have to worry about digital settings or whatever, And you, I mean, we have embraced technology. We do this stuff for a living. Like, it should not be this hard.
It should not be this hard, but whatever.
Yeah.
So, happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday to you. Happy to connect.
Thank you, man. Oh man, I love that T-shirt, man.
Oh, thank you. It's
Global Arts.
Yeah, it's a musical organization here in LA that helps teach kids music and stuff.
That's great. Well, they know that T-shirt signifies that a true grandmaster of music, global music.
Mm-hmm.
You are that. I mean, I don't know. Have you written a book yet?
The book?
Have you written a book?
Oh, have I written a book? No, I've thought many times about doing that. There's a few I would like to write. One would be just like a reference for percussionists or any musician around the world to say, this is the basic vocabulary for this culture, the rhythmic traditions from different cultures worldwide, just as almost like a rhythm dictionary, for people. Another one I'd like to write is just the recording process and how to think about orchestrating your own grooves in a recording setting, for whether it's for records, CDs, or movie or TV stuff.
Is there a book out there like that?
Not that I know of. I mean, Emil Richards wrote, he wrote kind of a text on how to approach film percussion, but it was from a very different perspective than what I've done. I've focused much more on hand percussion than he came more from a jazz vibe background before he got into film. So some of the recording concepts are similar, but I think learning about rhythmic traditions from different cultures, it's that's awesome. But then you can take the principles that you learn, the similarities you see between all of them, and apply those principles to come up with your own concepts and percussion and grooves.
Seems, what you're saying, it to me, I don't know whether a Hudson Music, but somebody should understand what you're saying and that what you're saying doesn't exist. And this is 2026. That doesn't exist.
Yeah, that's true. I do have a lot of friends in the music print publishing industry, and I have spoken to them about that. But that industry has really struggled too with the advent of the internet and how people expect things for free. So,
Well,
I mean, I would like to do it even eventually, maybe as a free thing, if nothing else. But the financial incentives have disappeared, just like they have in music. The revenue streams.
well, I believe, and I just heard this from a saxophone player. He bought the Jerry Hay.
I bought the same book
I got,
because
yeah,
it'll make me a better percussionist because
yeah,
you see how a brilliant musician thinks. It's the same concepts.
same, same thing, so
Absolutely.
got to be said, there must be a Brian Kilgore version.
Well, one day maybe we'll see. I perpetually live in the state of, if I can just get through the next 2 weeks, I'll be okay. I'm because there's always so much work in my, I'm always backlogged. So it's when I eventually slow down, which hopefully will be not too long, I'll be able to do projects like that.
But
I know you know the feeling.
I know the feeling, and I acknowledge that you have such a strong spiritual background to say that in the way that you just said it. That means everything. And you're saying, in conclusion, I'm in the now.
Hmm.
I don't want to
That's
get too far ahead.
Yeah,
The past that's behind me, but I'm in the now.
yeah, that's true.
So that's beautiful. Boy, does the planet need a lot of that. I'm just saying.
Yeah, yeah.
So how did I know you studied, you were mentored by the great Jerry Steinholtz.
Hmm.
What were some of the triggers when you were a little Brian Kilgore? What were some of those influences that all of a sudden just pew, 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 just triggering things and stuff in your head, your ears,
Hmm.
your heart? It was on a swivel.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, really early on for me, well, I had a band director when I was in 7th and 8th grade that was very good at getting Robert Sando, this is his name, Bob Sando, Robert Sando. He was very good at getting kids excited about making music and getting some of the nuances that, are difficult for younger kids to come out in the music, thinking emotionally as well as technically. And that had a big impact on me as far as being excited about music. And then I heard, my sister had the Weather Report record, Black Market, which
Ooh.
has uh, Alex Acuna on percussion. Chester Thompson played drums on that, most of it. I think uh, Narda Michael Walden also played on some stuff. And I heard that record, and it just kind of blew my mind, the way the musicians interacted musically, always soloing, yet never soloing, always, making statements but leaving space for everyone else in the group to have room to make their statements. And then, of course, we had spoken about this before, hearing Wayne Shorter's approach to space and stepping out when he when it's appropriate to, but always leaving space. And everyone in that group did that. That record blew my mind. And to this day, it's probably my favorite recording of a percussion performance. What Alex played on there just blew my mind. Then I saw them live on the Heavy Weather tour, and that blew my mind on yet another level. So, and then, I loved Tony Williams drumming. That was another big inspiration early on. When I got to LA to go to college at Cal State Northridge, which is where I met Gerry Steinholtz, one of the first people I wanted to look up was Alex, and I did. And I asked him if he would teach me, and he said sure. And I said, okay, how much do you charge? He said, I don't really, I'm not sure. I want to hear you play first. So I went to his house, did like a 3.5 hour lesson, and he charged me $15. So he's a very giving person and happy to share his knowledge, which I'm lucky to have, many teachers like that. Gerry Steinholtz, Joel Leach, Bob Sando, Luis Conte, I also studied with. I sought him out, studied Bata with him, and then he ended up playing in my senior recital in college when I to graduate. We
Wow.
played Bata together.
Wow.
Me, Luis, and Brad Dukes. And Bata to me is a great model of how to build your own groups, because learning that tradition is kind of when I really started thinking about, well, what are the universal components that how different cultures approach grooves. And when I studied Bata, that kind of got me thinking in terms of, okay, each of these cultures have different things, but what are the universal things?
Incredible that, I'll say it, those ancestors whose shoulders we stand on,
Mhm. Absolutely.
they directed you
Mhm. Yeah.
to the right sources.
Yeah.
They let Louis, Gerry Steinholtz, and all the people that you mentioned, and I'm sure
Mhm.
some that you haven't mentioned, but everybody it was all laid out for you. And
Mhm.
all you did was you just followed the path and they were there.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's incredible.
Jerry spoke as a teacher. He spoke sometimes in concrete terms, like, he did tell me early on, if you want to, you can do records and have a nice career for 10 years, maybe a little more, but if you want to have a long career, TV film is the way to go. And the beauty of film scores, playing on film scores, is any and all genres are all on the table. Everything is informed by everything else. So the fact that I love studying music from different cultures made film the perfect place for me to go. The other way that Gerry, so that's like a concrete piece of advice from Gerry, but he also liked to speak in very oblique terms. Like, he'd say something like, very kind of indirect, and it'd make his students sit around and think like, okay, what did he mean by that? And almost like the way Wayne Shorter talks too. Like, what does that mean? So the beautiful thing about that is that whatever answer you come up with what he meant by something is the right answer, because the goal is to get you to think about what it means to make music.
It's funny you mentioned Wayne, and I'm going to mention a clip that I saw. You may have seen it from Herbie
Uh-huh.
talking about playing with Miles,
Uh-huh.
and Herbie wasn't happy at the time, and evidently he's playing, and Miles comes up to him and says, "Stop playing those butter notes." And it's butter notes. What are butter notes and stuff? And then
Hmm.
he figured it out.
A perfect example, because whatever, Herbie put thought into what did he mean by that, and that's what Miles wanted him to do, is think about, like, just
Exactly.
think about it. So
Exactly.
yeah, yeah, great example.
Right. Wayne,
And Herbie, my two
the, the,
favorites.
the, the kings of conversation.
Yeah, yes.
Kings, absolute kings.
Hmm.
So, so now you're in LA, you're doing sessions, and I think we mentioned before Tina Marie, but when you started to get into the movies,
Hmm.
and obviously people knew of you, but I'm assuming that these directors or whatever
Hmm.
that were called you in, they may have heard about you, but I'm envisioning that when they met you and they heard your vocabulary of how
Hmm.
immense it is, that
Hmm.
was a game changer.
Yeah, I mean, I tried to break into film early on, and it took a long time, much longer than I ever expected or wanted. However, the fact that it took so long enabled me to build a skill set of all these different things. I toured with Tina Marie, old school R&B, just an incredible experience. Watched somebody night after night who gave not 100%, gave 10,000%. Like, I mean, when she was on, she was in the moment, absolutely fearless on stage too. That was in education. I played with Bill Watrous, his jazz trombonist, big band. I started playing with him when I was 18. Claire Fisher, Salsa Picante, Brazilian. I played in Ron Powell's Brazilian band, LA Samba. I played in local orchestras. I did a timpani concerto. I played timbales with Francisco Aguabella for almost 4 years. I mean, that's an education right there. Just
My
playing
God.
time for Francisco,
My God.
listening to him solo, and soaking up whatever I can from him. Um, so I moved down here in '79. I was basically the week I turned 18. In the '90s, I started doing a lot of playing on jingles and doing studio work, but I had not cracked the film nut. Finally, around '98, I talked to my wife and said, you know what? I'm happy playing on records. I'm happy doing jingles. Forget the film thing. It's never going to happen. So we moved. Let's move to Thousand Oaks. It's a really beautiful community, a lot of open space, and I'll just drive in and do the work that I have and be happy. We were in escrow with that house when I get my first call to play on a James Horner score on a movie called Mighty Joe Young that featured a lot of percussion. And this call was like, almost a week. Well, it was a full week of double or triple sessions with just me, Michael Fisher, and Bob Zamiti doing just hand percussion and kind of world percussion. Michael's the one who pulled me in on that session. And literally from that movie on, from that gig, I was in the club, and the people that do film scores were aware of me then, and that's become the focus of my work, starting with that movie. It
Wow.
changed everything for me. But it was a blessing that it took so long to break into that, because I got to do
You
things like play with
you
Francisco and
developed
oh man,
the vocabulary,
absolutely.
and I'm sure
And
there are just moments where you're playing. It's like you just, oh, I gotta, man, I'm trying to soak this in, but I gotta play.
right, right. Yeah, and the other thing I'll never forget, one of my teachers that I studied orchestral percussion with, Joel Leach at CSUN, when around the time I left, he said, "Okay, and I would have done this anyway, but it helped solidify the concept, like, never stop learning, always don't let that ever stop." And I'm that kind of person anyway, but that still made me think even more about it. And any musician I play with at any point, I'm giving my best, but I'm also like, what can I learn from this person by listening and watching and doing that? So certainly playing with Francisco was an education. I mean, any one of the people I've worked with, it's a huge opportunity to make music and also learn something.
The journey is the lesson.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yep. That's exactly right.
So, again, with your vocabulary from playing Nigerian Afro beats to Irish bouzouki, has there been any? Well, maybe not now, but was there ever a time where you came across something and it's like, I'm kind of aware of it, but I'm not I'm not where I'd like to be.
Oh, every day.
Every
Uh,
day.
I
Man, I'm
mean,
I'm sorry, man. I don't have a rim shot right here. Pop.
I mean, Afro-Cuban percussion is what hooked me on percussion because it's such a deep tradition and there's so much behind it, and the rhythmic interaction is complex and so beautiful. I heard that, it's like that speaks to me. Brazilian percussion, same thing. Afro Brazilian percussion, the Bahian thing is deep. One that I didn't discover till many years into this is I didn't know anything. I love West African percussion, but the Senegalese tradition is, the West African stuff, junjuns and djembes and all that is Mali and Guinea and Senegal. But then Senegal has its own thing that doesn't go into Mali and Guinea as much, and that's Sabar drumming. And I heard this master named Dudu Andaye Rose, and when I first time I heard that, it's like, is what is this? That's so. There's just always these incredibly beautiful things different cultures have to give, and when I hear it, I want to learn more about it. And so I've found somebody in LA that played Sabar that could teach. And it's an ensemble, um, you know, uh, of drums that has different roles, just like many cultures. And so I put together a group of 5 percussionists, colleagues of mine that would want to take a weekly or monthly class from this guy, and we learned about Sabar drumming. Peter Gabriel used Dudu and Dairos on his score to Last Temptation of Christ. That's the first time I heard it. And then, of course, with the internet, you can look up things, and there's a great documentary about Dudu called Jabote. It's on the internet. And, you watch that, and it's just he would compose these pieces. So there's very composed parts, but there's also within the compositions freedom for different soloists and interaction and conversations and communication. Super cool. Super cool.
Incredible. I'm. There should be a documentary about you.
Well, actually, somebody has talked to me about that, and I don't
Good.
know if it's going to happen. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
I mean, it's yeah, incredible.
Well, thank you.
It's incredible. So you had these, of your colleagues, uh, Amy Richards, Joe Picaro, Claire, Mr. Fisher. Mr. Aguabea. And then, with all that vocabulary, now, when does the NWA, when does that, that seasoning to the groove gumbo?
hmm It's all music, and I was, after I started touring with Tina, I played on every record of hers from 1986 on. I was also, of course, playing when I was in town, which was most of the time. I did played with anybody that I could, and there was this kind of like a folky pop singer I played with, and the engineer that had engineered her record was the engineer on NWA, and he recommended me to Dre, and that led to several mini sessions, with NWA on uh, Easy E's record, West Coast Rap All Stars. And at the time, I would go and do these sessions, and I didn't even know who NWA was at the time. And that's happened with me a lot where I'm unaware of who somebody is, and which is kind of I always felt like is a good thing because I can just go in with no preconceptions. I just go in,
Indeed.
listen to the track, and what is it? What can I bring to this? Which is what they want when they hire you.
No preconceived. No, this is what's needed.
Yeah. Cool.
Brian, thank you. This has been such a fascinating look at this musician who doesn't just play rhythms, but creates sonic fingerprints. Everyone, please stay tuned for episode number 2 with Brian Kilgore on the Groove Don't Lie podcast.